China's enigmatic H-20 bomber is on the cusp of revealing its hidden facets to the world. Marking a monumental leap in aviation prowess, this colossal marvel, birthed from China's own technological tenacity, is gearing up for its grand public revelation. The H-20, hailed as the crowning jewel of China's national defense arsenal, is not just another addition. It's the keystone that completes China's strategic bomber landscape. But what is the story behind the H-20's crucial role in China's defense narrative, and what waves will its debut send rippling through the ranks of the Chinese Air Force? Today, let's discuss how the three countries of China, the US, and Russia developed their bombers. Join us on this enlightening journey to grasp the pivotal role of the H-20 and its counterparts in shaping the future of global aerial dominance. The world's most advanced strategic bombers are mainly held by the US, Russia, and China. The US possesses B-2s, B-1Bs, and B-52s, the three major bombers. Russia, inheriting from the Soviet Union, has the trio of Tu-22s, Tu-95s, and Tu-160s. China mainly relies on the H-6 series, which is somewhat inferior in technology compared to the US and Russia. However, even the H-6 is not something any country can easily produce. Only a handful of countries truly excel in developing cutting-edge bombers. It's not that bombers are unimportant, but that most countries cannot produce them. Unlike fighter jets, bombers do not require high maneuverability. They aim for three main performances: long range, large payload, and high penetration capability. Generally, strategic bombers should have a range of at least 8,000 kilometers and a payload exceeding 20 tons. Therefore, some question whether the H-6K qualifies as a true strategic bomber. Although the H-6K's range meets the standard at 8,000 kilometers, its maximum payload is only 15 tons. In comparison, the payload capacities of Russia's Tu-95 and Tu-160 and America's B-1B and B-2 strategic bombers all exceed 20 tons. Even the older B-52 has a maximum payload of 27 tons, and Russia's Tu-22 backfire bomber can carry up to 24 tons. The true advantage of the H-6K lies in its long-range precision strike capability, allowing it to launch cruise missiles without directly overflying the target, which is more applicable in actual combat situations. Regarding air defense penetration, the US and Soviet Union took distinctly different paths. The Soviet Union opted for supersonic raids using sheer speed to break through US air defenses. Based on this ideology, the Soviet Union developed the Tu-160 supersonic bomber. Initially, the US also followed in the footsteps of the Soviet Tu-160 and developed the B-1B Lancer supersonic bomber. However, as modern air defense systems evolved with increasingly longer radar detection ranges, the penetration capability of supersonic bombers was significantly weakened. Thus, the US military shifted strategies and invested heavily in creating the B-2 stealth bomber, which does not rely on speed for surprise attacks but instead on stealth. Before the B-2, the US had deployed the Nighthawk stealth strike aircraft, but its performance in real combat situations, such as during the Kosovo War, was not satisfactory. Its stealth was compromised, and it was eventually abandoned for the B-2, which entered service in 1997. At that time, the Soviet Union had already dissolved, leaving the B-2 without any rivals for a long period. Reflecting on the 50-year Cold War, the Soviet Union's bomber development took an unusual technological path. Initially, the Soviet Union lacked a comprehensive bomber technology portfolio and struggled to make significant breakthroughs on its own. However, in 1944, a B-29 bomber took off from Chengdu, China, and launched an aerial raid that significantly aided China against Japan. During its return journey, the aircraft encountered radio malfunction and a shortage of fuel that made it impossible to return. Considering the Soviet Union as an ally, the B-29 landed at a naval base in the Soviet Far East, providing the Soviets with their first B-29. By reverse engineering the B-29, the Soviet Union finally produced its own Tu-4 bomber. Starting with the Tu-4, the Soviet Union rapidly advanced, mass-producing various advanced bombers, such as the Tu-16, Tu-22, and Tu-95. The most advanced Soviet bomber was the Tu-160, developed during the Cold War primarily to carry nuclear weapons deep into enemy territory. To achieve this strategic goal, the Soviet approach was straightforward and aggressive. The Tu-160, capable of reaching speeds over Mach 2, became the fastest bomber in human history. However, the Soviet Air Force never fully entered the stealth era before the Soviet Union's collapse. The B-2, capable of subsonic speeds but with unparalleled stealth capabilities, represented a complete evolution beyond the Tu-160, possessing world-leading range and payload capacities scarcely matched by any other country. According to U.S. plans, the B-2 was designed to penetrate Soviet air defenses and safely return after delivering nuclear payloads. As modern air defense systems advanced, the concept of supersonic raids became outdated, and stealth penetration emerged as the primary factor in enhancing bomber survivability. The once-celebrated Tu-160 faced a difficult fate following the Soviet Union's dissolution. Its production lines were halted in the 1990s, with related companies going bankrupt or closing, and technical experts disappearing. Russia struggled to develop more advanced stealth bombers and relied on Soviet designs, taking 30 years to rebuild the Tu-160 production line. Compared to the B-2, the Tu-160 belongs to a different era. In the arena of modern warfare, the capability of a nation's bombers can be a significant determinant of its strategic strength. The H-6, China's long-standing workhorse, lags considerably when compared with the leading American and Russian giants of aerial assault. These performance disparities are not just minimal, they are vast chasms that point to a need for rapid modernization and advancement. All eyes are now earnestly fixed on the H-20, China's next-generation bomber, which is expected to be the key that will lock these gaps. The anticipation is palpable, and the pressure is immense as the world awaits to see if the H-20 will rise to the occasion and redefine China's position in the hierarchy of air combat prowess. Thanks. Please don't hesitate to like, subscribe, share, and support the Knowledge Nook.